welcome to MS4. And today I'm doing the makeup declutter tag, but also talking to you about how my great declutter of 2022 went. Because earlier this year I did a huge declutter, and it was both highly illuminating as far as to how my mind worked and how I most liked to use my makeup, but also the idea about what was worth it as far as space and time went. So I fit this together with the declutter tag because for me, decluttering is kind of an ongoing process. It's trying out new things, going through the old things and seeing how much I love them or how much, if they're not working for me, I need to remove them to make space for new stuff. So we're putting these two things together. So I'm going to run you really quickly through how I did my declutter. Now, I had a very supportive partner in this. I believe it was enlightened self-interest on his part because my makeup had gotten to be everywhere in the house. There was some in the bathroom, there was some in drawers, there was some in my makeup allocated space, and it got to be everywhere. And for me, it was a problem because I didn't really remember what I had. I was feeling really uninspired because I couldn't see it. It was in drawers or bins or things. And so I just found myself feeling a little overwhelmed, also uninspired, and just completely in different places, literally, in the house. So I felt very dispersed in my mind of how I thought about my makeup. So with the support of my partner, I took every bit of makeup that I had out and laid it out over some desk space and some drawer space so I could see everything all at once, and where it didn't have to move for as long as I needed to be able to think about it. So the idea that I could take a month to look at this and to try and make up my mind about it. I tend to work mentally very slowly sometimes, so I've got to ponder. So like sometimes I would just stand there and stare at the makeup collection and just be thinking about it. And what we kind of came to was that I needed a definite space for it to be in, that it needed to be contained. That way I could feel like I could put everything into it, but also that I would know when I was exceeding the space. And what it turned out was that my liquid foundations and primers, they live in the bathroom because that's where I put them on so that I can wash my hands afterwards. But they are all contained. The only two things that aren't in here are there's a tinted moisturizer, and then there's a moisturizing primer that kind of fit out of those two, and so they stay with my moisturizers. But other than that, this is all of the liquid foundations and primers that survived, but they are also contained in a limited space. If I have something that's coming in or coming out, I need to make a decision about what I like better or worse. Now during the declutter, we used some of these bins to hold things. This was one of the things that my makeup was living in before in the bathroom, different sizes of these. They're from Bed Bath & Beyond. And so it ended up, as I was going through the declutter, there was about 23 items that I was on the fence about. Some things like, yes, I can get rid of them, they're old, I'm not interested in them, they smell weird. And so those were decluttered pretty immediately. But then there was a number of things that I was just on the fence about, I couldn't decide. And so we put them in a container like this and said, there's 23 products, you have a month. If you go through one a day and figure this out and make a decision about it, in less than a month, you'll have that figured out. And that worked really well. There were a couple of days that I missed, but then the next day that I got back to it, I doubled up and did two. And so in that way, I was able to figure out what was going and what was staying. Now, the next thing to figure out how to store them. Now for me, you can see back here, we had this, it's an older IKEA storage system. But for me, I didn't want something that closed up, that you couldn't see it into it anymore. Because for me, being able to see my makeup is inspiring. It lets me know what I have. And it also, if I'm going to add something or subtract something, it gives me an easy visual way to see, you know, do I already have this color? Because if it's all shoved in a drawer and I don't see it, then it's like either I have to open everything up and look at it and then make the decision, like, you know, but this way it's super quick and it's very inspiring for me. If I want to, I can just look at it like artwork. I could look at my pretty items. So it was important for me to have open storage, whereas most people want closed storage. So we got this, and then I needed to have things to hold items. So we ordered a whole bunch of different acrylic holders, both for the longer, more palette sized, or the smaller size for like quads. Some things to hold lip and eyeliners, and some for just stands. And so we ordered a whole bunch of them with the idea that I would just try these in and out to see how well they fit the collection. And then anything that I didn't use, we could either return or declutter also if they came in a pack. And I wanted just some of them. So that was a great way, as far as a no stress way to try how can I hold these things the best, what works the best for me. So we did that through Amazon. And the other thing that I wanted was I wanted a place for things to go in and out of my collection that didn't look, again, like the wired baskets. So we decided that and some of you have seen this before, this is Kosas. This is their larger size travel. And this is what holds my makeup as it goes in and out when I'm trying things out. Right now, in fact, I'm trying the new to me. This is the Good Apple foundation from KBD I got through the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale that I had never used before, so I decided this was a good time to do that. And also getting tried out are two Laura Geller blushes. There's a cream blush and a serum blush. So I'm trying those out. So those are gonna live in this until I make a decision. Do they not work for me and I need to get rid of them or pass them on? Or do we find place in the storage for that? The huge thing that I also did, I had a ton of brushes, and what I found was, as many of you struggle with this, the whole idea of dirty brushes. And what I would do, I had so many brushes that if I had a dirty brush, I would just, you know, throw it to the side and then use a clean brush until finally I had a massive amount of brushes to clean. So I ended up doing a fairly massive brush declutter. I have 5 eye brushes up there, and then all of the rest of my brushes now fit in this. And when these get dirty, I need to wash them or I have no brushes. And so it's kind of, you know, shaming when I can see, oh, your brushes are so gross, you need to wash those. But it's all manageable. So I never feel like I get to the point where I have so many dirty brushes that it's completely like crushing me under the weight, and then I don't want to wash my brushes, and then I end up not washing my brushes, which is not hygienic. So that was a big move for me, but I was finding that I used the same brushes all the time anyway. So having 4 billion brushes just so I never had to wash them was kind of like that I'm gonna buy new underwear instead of washing my underwear. It's weird, I know. So the other thing that I do have travel. This is It Cosmetics travel brushes, and then this is my Tarte magnetic palette that I got, and it has mostly in it KVD and Ofra at this moment, and this is for my travel, but I also use this like if I need to get ready, you know, quick and dirty face look, not dirty, but you know, fast. I use my travel palette for that. So those are in a slightly different category. So I've been really happy with the declutter that I did, and just embracing that idea of giving myself time to think about things and try them out, but also being contained a little bit so that I don't get overwhelmed with makeup, but I'm also able to see it, enjoy it, and be inspired by it. So the idea is that I'm constantly in some ways decluttering or choosing or winnowing the collection, and making space for new things also. So when I saw the declutter tag, I think, well, you know, there's actually a lot of good things to think about for that for me also, just because it keeps me that idea of like, okay, nothing is stationary necessarily. There are very few things that are non-negotiable that must stay. So I decided to do the declutter tag because I thought it looked like a lot of fun, and I had watched a couple of different YouTubers doing the declutter tag, and I will put them in the description box, of course. So we're going to start out, there's 10 questions on the declutter tag. Starting out with what's an impractical item? Now some people had said the loose highlighters. I do not have any of those because yeah, that just sounds like an accident waiting to happen with the Monica. But what I do have, and this is probably going to end up being decluttered. I like the idea of it, I like the product itself, but using it is so fussy. This is the Colourpop Jelly Much. Now it's great formula, like, you know, it goes on like a jelly, dries down, looks pretty, but for me, like getting into it, so it has the topper, and you have to keep this on so it doesn't dry out because the formula will dry out almost immediately. So you have to have this, and then for me it's a little harder to get it open because it's just got a little tab and I have hand issues. So that's also accident waiting to happen. So then you open it up and you have to find some place for this to live, to sit down, so and if you drop it, then you've got the Jelly Much stuff all over the place. And see, this is a gorgeous color. It's really pretty. And like I said, it wears really nicely. But then I either need to apply it with a finger and then clean my finger off, or I need to find a brush and then I have to make sure that I clean the brush off. And so after a while, it's like, well, is the payoff worth the hassle for it? And so that's the decision making for me. It's really impractical. I can't do this as a fast look. This has to be one of those, you know, you light a candle, you take your time. So for me, it's fairly impractical. And this, even though I love this color, and then see, I've got some on my fingers. Even though I really like the product, the storage application, etc., it's just kind of asking for a messy accident for me to happen. So for me, it ends up being extremely impractical. So this one, as space gets more limited, this one may end up going by the wayside. Okay, the second question is about expired mascara. That's something that I actually do not have to worry about. I have my Old Faithful of the Better Than Sex mascara, and I have one other trial size that I'm trying out right now, which is the One Size Beauty, and I have no expired mascaras. There's no space for it, there's no, like, I'm not dealing with it. So that's actually something that I've gotten very good at. You know, if like it's not working, it goes in the trash can, because you can't re-gift things that you use on your eyes that have trapped wet stuff, because that's not good for bacteria transmission. There we go, not transformation. So all of the expired mascaras are gone. I don't keep those. I throw them, I get vicious, I just throw them away. Red lipsticks I never wear is number 3. So I've been trying to get these all worked out for fall, because I feel like fall is going to be the time when I'm really going to work with these kind of red, deeper red lipsticks. I don't tend to do light red or orange red because they don't look the best on me. The only time that really looked good on me was when I had platinum blonde hair. And that was a lot of upkeep, and as you may have noticed, I don't have that anymore. So the 2 red lipsticks, I have 2 Kosas lipsticks. One is in Darkroom and one is in Fringe. And I need to get these out. These don't tend to expire in the same way that, like, I had problems with the Kosas, the face oil, aging out pretty rapidly on me. But these are going to be fun to try in fall. And they have a nice kind of they have closure, magnetic closure. And this one is Darkroom. It's a berry. And then this one is Fringe, and this one is going to be more of a, in the brown tone. It's still red, but it's got a little more of the, so that's Fringe, and that's Darkroom. So they're really pretty reds. I just don't wear them enough, and I think this is going to be a good thing for me to put in the gonna try it out basket to use for fall, getting into the spirit of things, and to see if I'm going to love those and keep them, or if I'm going to let them go by the wayside and declutter them. But for right now, this tag has really shown me, like, I haven't been wearing those. This is the perfect season to get them out and use them. And so these are the red lipsticks that I'm going to be wearing for the fall, just to try them out to see if we need to declutter those. 4, high-end, not worth the money. I'm going to answer this in more of an esoteric way. For me, high-end is worth it if you love it. If it does things nice for you, if it makes you feel a certain way, and if you look at that, you're happy, you think that it's useful, you think that it's beautiful, that's worth the money, and that's such an individual decision. So for me, high-end that is not worth it is something that you don't love. You paid the money for it, you got it home, you did not love it. And holding on to something like that is like, having a piece of something that reminds you of shame and doubt and whatever. So to me, it's like, it's worth it for me to declutter it. I thought at the time that it was going to do something for me that was worth it. I got it home, I used it, it did not. And so keeping that just because it was expensive is like, putting the albatross around your neck. It's this whole, I have this shame. And if you think it's going to keep you from buying an expensive product again, so you're using it as like a warning, okay, maybe. But sometimes it's just there to make you feel bad and taking up space, and you might as well just gift it to someone else who might love it. It kind of reminds me of my partner got some chocolate, and usually he has just a little piece of chocolate in the evening as like a reward, just a little amuse-bouche. But he got some chocolate that he hated, and so, but he spent, money on it, so he was holding on to it. So every night he was like, the chocolate. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, well, it feels like punishment chocolate. I thought, that's terrible. You should never have punishment chocolate. No. So for me, the high-end that's not worth it is something that you don't love, and also that you hold on to because you spent a lot of money for it. Because to me, that's like punishment chocolate. Like, why am I forcing myself? It's like, I can remember that was a bad idea, that I spent lots of money on it. Like, I don't need a piece of clutter in this case reminding me that I made a bad decision. Like, I can remember that pretty well, and I don't like my objects around me, speaking in a negative way too much, because then you just are, again, you look at your collection and you're just sad, and that's no way to go through life. So anyway, high-end, not worth it. Everything that I spent a lot of money on that I don't love, I do declutter because I don't believe in punishment chocolate. So there you go. Number 5, eyeshadow palette you forgot you had. The Viseart palette. In fact, when I went to put to this, I had to try and find my Viseart palette. They're super slim, and this is just kind of, it's a reddish, but it's like, it doesn't really stand out, and it kind of gets sideways in things, and I just completely forgot that I had it. I love the way these open up, and these travel really nicely. And I like the color story. It's a nice color story, and it's a nice eyeshadow. It just kind of like slips through the cracks and disappears. So I need to put this out a little more display, a little more front and center, so it doesn't slip into the cracks and get unused, because it is a really lovely little palette and I like it. But it's not going to get decluttered. I just need to figure out a different arrangement so that it's a little more forward facing and doesn't get where it's disappearing on me. So that is number 5. Number 6, this is a drugstore dud, and I don't have it here because I did declutter it. The Maybelline Superstay Crayon Birthday Edition was it's a creamy matte with sparkles, which does not, like, I'm like, what? It's one of those things that try to picture is like, oh, it's like, it's matte, except for it's got little glittery particles. I love the Maybelline Superstay. I have a number of them up there of the crayons. I like them. The birthday ones just did not, whatever adding the sparkle to it completely kind of ruined the formula for me. It just would not stay in place, and it's possible it was the shade that I got, but it was so not workable for what it's supposed to be workable for, the whole like long-lasting color payoff that doesn't run away on you. It was not good that way, so that ended up being decluttered, and especially disappointing because, again, the Maybelline Superstay is in my collection. I have a number of them. So that was number 6, the drugstore dud. 7, foundation that's not your shade match. Again, most of my declutter got through all the ones that didn't work. This Charlotte Tilbury I got through Ipsy, and it's a 3N, which is not the right shade for me as far as the being neutral. I am in the warm category. But this foundation I cut with my other Charlotte products, which I did a video on my Charlotte Summer Edition. So I use the Flawless filter or the Unisex Healthy Glow to cut this and add warmth to it. And it ends up being more warm on the skin and also just a lighter texture of the foundation. So it ends up working for me, so it has not been decluttered, but this is technically not my shade. And then 8, the product not worth the hype. Also, I don't have this in my collection anymore. The NARS Orgasm blush. I get samples of that. I get travel sizes of that in all sorts of little try me packets, and every time I'm like, nope. Nope, because it's just too sparkly for me. I tend to like a matte blush with a highlighter as opposed to a sparkly cheek, and for some reason it's just not orange enough and it's not pink enough, and it's a little too sparkly to be, like a blush, and it's too much of a color to be a highlighter. And so I end up just, every time I get a NARS Orgasm, and everybody else loves it, it's like this mainstay that everybody loves, and I can't do it. Sorry, I think I have a hair hanging out. Number 9, concealer you couldn't get to work. That's actually most of them for me. I have a lot of fine and not so fine lines under my eyes, so trying to get a concealer under the eye was problematic. And then I couldn't find really anything for blemishes that was light enough in the texture to not look bumpy and weird on my face, but also enough color canceling, so the red part of concealers were a problem. So usually I just used foundation and lotion. The most heartbreaking thing was when everybody loved Shape Tape, and I tried it, and it did not work out well for me. Like I could not, if I got it to be smooth, it was completely, like, I couldn't move, I couldn't smile. And as much as I love having the imperious resting bitch face, I crack up too often. And so then all of the lines would come, and then they would just stay like that. So the Tarte Shape Tape was the most disappointing because everybody loved that. And I was like, I could love it too, right? And it's like, no. So that was the most disappointing. I did, during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, I did pick up the Becca Smashbox color corrector. So I am trying that out right now. And the I'm trying out the One Size concealer right now because I have been finding I have some dark underneath my eyes that I'm trying to camouflage a wee bit. So we are trying this, and it's working out okay so far. So far so good. But unfortunately the Shape Tape I could not do. And then number 10, If you were going to be starting over, what category of makeup would you want to start over again? And this was super easy for me because eye palettes. I have so much fun looking at color and pretty and sparkly and new that if all of my eyeshadow palettes disappeared, it would be like, oh hey, we have unlimited space to get new eyeshadow palettes. So for me, that would be just like exciting and fun. Now, would I miss some of my old ones? Oh yeah, sure. But you know, I like the new and sparkly. It's okay. So like if my eyeshadow, if I had to start over in any category, the easiest one to start over with would be the eyeshadow palettes. And I think then followed by lipsticks, that would be the most fun. Just because it's the most new in color and I'm not constrained with any space. You know, I could just fill all of it and it would be fun. So I actually, you know, wouldn't be, I mean, however I lost all of my makeup, I'd probably be sad, but you know, it's like that category would be fabulous. I would love to start over with that. And in fact, today I'm using a new one of my palettes. This is the Beauty Bakery, the Chosen Bun. Is my eye look today. So totally basic bee, but it's great for fall and it's all like toasty, and so I was feeling it. So anyway, that's the declutter tag. See, I can't even talk today. Need more coffee. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how I went through my process of decluttering. And some of the fun things about the declutter tag. Remember, you don't need to eat punishment chocolate. But hope you all having a great day. Do enjoy the declutter process. Try it out. I think you can find out all sorts of interesting things about yourself, your makeup desires, and how you want your collection and your makeup use to go forward. So anyway, hope everyone's doing well, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.